Today, we continue our series on how to be a better public speaker with a look at how to start a speech like a pro. Hi, I'm Dave Edwards. I've been a public speaker and former broadcaster, and I teach public speaking to college students, to clients, and now online. I want to start with some advice on how to start your speech in the best possible way. If you don't start strong, you're going to struggle throughout, and your audience will struggle to understand what you are talking about. If you remember one piece of advice from this video, it's this. You need to grab the attention of your audience right away. Here's not the way to do it. And I've heard this over and over and over again, particularly in some of my college classes. Someone stands up in front of the audience and says something like, "Hi, I'm Dave, and today I'm going to talk about," and then they kind of give us the title of their speech. That's not going to catch the attention of your audience. But if I started out by saying, "Don't you think it's really surprising that employees don't get more vacation time? Do you find it surprising that it's hard to get health care these days?" That is an ear catcher, and it's something that people can relate to. Also, you don't want to start your presentation by apologizing. I'm going to talk about healthcare today, and I'm not really an expert on it, but I've read a lot of good books. Not very effective. You want to start with a bold statement. Tell a story if you can. Give them something to think about. Linda Marshall of Toastmasters International says this: "I spend 10 times more time developing and practicing the opener than any other part of the speech." John Medina, the author of Brain Rules, says people don't pay attention to boring things. So here's a couple of ways to do that. But I have to provide a warning. Don't overuse any of these ideas, because if you begin every speech the same way, well, that's not going to be very effective, particularly if people have heard you speak more than once. And among the techniques I'll share with you and others that we talk about in my online course, use the best approach that will work for the type of speech that you are giving. So here's just a few ideas. Include personal experiences in your open. So if you're going to do something on healthcare, you can start off with, "It was the middle of the night and I had to go to the hospital. I knew I was sick, but I started to worry on the way to the hospital if my illness was worth going because I know I don't have very good health insurance." Telling a story gets people to relate to the topic. Ask questions. How many of you here have had problems with getting health insurance? That's a good way of engaging your audience, but be careful. You don't really want an answer. I mean, you're not going to really call on people to hear their stories. So ask the question in kind of a broad way. Use quotes, particularly if it's a famous quote that will relate to the story that you are telling. I also like the what if or imagine this scenario idea. A bold statistic will work. Here's what you don't want to do, and that is project low energy or have an opening that the audience can't relate to or the event. It's also not a good idea to appear nervous. Now, this is a big one because I know that not everyone is comfortable speaking in front of a group. That's why I really put this course together, because that's a big part of conquering your fear of public speaking. Most people, including professional speakers, do in fact feel nervous before giving a speech. While being nervous is natural, expressing some of the habits that we usually associate with nervousness, such as, adjusting your clothing or not standing still or touching your face, that can all have a negative effect on the way people perceive you and your speech. It's also not a good idea to be overconfident either. Just like displaying a lack of confidence, showing too much of it can make the audience lose interest. You want to build a rapport with the listeners, and that requires you as the speaker to be close to their level. Of course, I'm just touching the surface on these topics here. I have so much more to say on each of these issues, and you notice we haven't even had a chance to talk about the speech itself or preparing the speech. All of that is in my course, How to Be a Better and More Confident Public Speaker. You can find out more at daveedwardsmedia.com.